The facts, dates, and events presented in this video and or podcast are from the members' best recollection and may not be fully accurate. This video and or podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only. Always consult with your local union about your rights and duties at your workplace. The opinions shared on this video and or podcast by myself or any of the guests that appear on here are our own and does not necessarily represent our employers' positions, strategies, or opinions. All views shared are protected under the National Labor Relations Act. Thank you. Now let's get into the show. And welcome back. It's your boy Eric Robinson, man. You already laughing, man. Man, it's your boy Eric Robinson. We're back. And we're recording here for you guys. Got a podcast show and a little bit of video. We're here with Russel Hilke.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Yeah, man.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be a part of this.
Been a driver for how long, man?
18 years plus. Ooh. I've worked at UPS for 22 up in San Marcos.
Oh, that is what's up. And you were you're a former shop steward.
That's correct.
Ah, yep. How long?
Roughly 5 years, but I was pretty active before that as well.
Oh, you was a beast, huh? So we can say that you got some experience. So overall with the company?
Definitely.
How long? How long were you with us?
22 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's freaking nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's up. So, man, we got Russell with us. Today we're going to be going over a little bit of the contract, man. Some of the things that we believe that you guys should know about. We noticed that your union is not out there, or your local is not out there informing you. So we'll be out here doing it for them. You know what I'm saying? Also, remember to vote for positive change and vote for members for members. So today, Hilke, what are we talking about, man?
I just wanted to talk about the UPS contract, and maybe some of the other members out there from the other crafts could probably relate some of the stuff that goes on at our contract with theirs, and some of the things that really the local hasn't been holding the company accountable to like they're supposed to.
Yeah, we got a lot of that going around, a lot of proliferation of that. So, man, I noticed that you've seen some weaknesses within our contract, and you have some answers, because a lot of folks are like, oh, hey, you always point out the bad stuff, but you never point out the good stuff. So we're actually going to give individuals some answers today. So
first I kind of wanted to talk about just like getting people to know about the contract and what it is and what it means, and how to use it and how to understand it somewhat a little easier.
Because a lot of people at our place, even though they come into UPS, they're never really introduced to their contract,
exactly.
let alone their business agent or who the individuals are who help them. So it's pretty awesome. Well, let's get into it, man. What do you got for us?
So really, with our UPS contract, it's kind of us in the Southwest. It's separated into 3 different sections. And the white section applies to everybody in the country. It's called the National Master Agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much covers the whole country other than Chicago, sorry. And then we also have the yellow section, which is the Western Region Agreement, and that covers all the western states in the United States. And I can't really name them all. It goes up Colorado, Utah, Montana, etc., all the way out to Hawaii. And then we have a specific Southwest package rider and sort rider, which would be the blue and Manila or peach section, and that applies to everybody in the Southwest. And there is a section in the master that says that any superior benefit you can find, you can use for you, unless it specifically states that there's a supersede. And I think sometimes the contract is it's taken out of context, and people think it's like more of a suggestion book. Really, this is written about, like, it's old labor laws, that it's called a collective bargaining agreement. This is a legally binding document, and it's not a suggestion book, like I said.
It's not a suggestion. It's not a hey, we suggest that you do this. No, it's an agreement that we, because a lot of the things that we get, at least with our old business agent, man, Mr. Paul Sampson, he would say, the company can do anything they want to. And I was like, no, they can't. We've already agreed upon what we can and cannot do.
Exactly.
And he, at that, my personal opinion, he allowed them to do whatever they wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? But as you say, this is not a suggestion. It's what we've agreed upon and what we should follow. So now when it comes to some of the strengths and some of the weaknesses, I noticed you noticed some of the weaknesses in the contract. Where do you believe that we can actually improve?
I really feel like there's a lot of strong language already in the contract that our leadership has failed to enforce. It's, the contract isn't worth the paper it's written on unless you're going to enforce it and hold the company accountable. Our working conditions can be greatly improved if we just took the current language and actually enforced it. And then, once we get that done, then we can build on that.
What an idea, huh?
Yeah.
What an idea, huh? What a novelty. We got this thick contract, and, if we just enforce it, we'll actually work better and live better, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, how interesting, man. How interesting. Go ahead. What else you got, my friend?
I mean, oh, man, I'm just going to cut to the
oh, yes.
We're going to cut that out.
Oh, man. So you say that there's some things that we can actually enforce.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So there's some things that we can actually enforce in the contract. Can you go into some detail about that?
Just one thing that's getting totally abused is this whole 6-day punch thing. And, there's been people who have filed on it. The local, for some reason, fails to process these grievances. There's lots to argue that we can argue about this. Really, in our contract, it says that the scheduled start times are supposed to be posted the week prior. A lot of times, the stewards and the company like to say that there's some 24-hour notice in there. I mean, if somebody can find it in there, please let me know, because I've searched this thing tons of times and I haven't been able to find 24-hour notice, at least in our particular region. Mm-hmm. If what about in the 6 punch, people who have scheduled vacations, people who have planned vacations for that week, are they supposed to be required to come in the Saturday before their vacation or the Saturday off or the after, or do they just get, the lucky draw that week that it wasn't a week where they were forcing people in, or, they're not offering these days as FHPs,
Well, your local union says that the company can do whatever they want to, Russ. So look, if you're in Cancun, bro, with your family, I need you back here on Saturday, and you better be back here.
Yeah, and there was some new language put into this this current contract that we're working under, and it was that the 25% threshold of the 224s, it could be increased if the company continually showed the need for staffing on Saturday. So I feel that the company is really setting itself up for the next contract when it comes to increasing the amount of 224s, and really our locals letting them get away with it, which is decreasing our bargaining power.
Yeah, we see that a lot. Like I noticed that they're not bringing in as many RCPDs as they used to, and now what they were doing with the cover drivers, now they are now extended that to the 224s. So now they're just stacking the deck with 224s because they know they don't have any rights. They don't have any 9-5 rights. So, they're just going to...
Cheaper labor,
and they're going to work them and keep them out there all night. And it looks like, from my personal opinion, that, the local's not going to do anything to protect them. And it's so crazy. We'll get into it a little bit later, but it took so long for them to file agreements to fight for us. And now all of a sudden in an election year, they're on it. They're coming across big wins around here, Russ.
Yeah, really, with them, our local allowing the company to force this 6-punch thing.
It's crazy.
And, cover drivers coming in on Saturday, forcing them, RPCDs forcing them, 224s on Monday. Then all the other parts of our contract are almost like they feel null and void. And or something, because why would the company ever hire anybody if they can just force everybody in on their day off? They're just making it so the company doesn't have to hire more RPCDs or full-time positions.
And they're also not allowing us to spend time with our families, man. It seems like the local forgot, like, we have families, we have kids, even though the contract states that, we're supposed to be working, Monday through Friday, and then we have some that work Tuesday through Saturday. And, it should be respected because, dude, we need time off to enjoy with our family. And this is why we choose to work union. You know what I'm saying? So now, with the staffing, it seems to be a big issue when it comes to unsafe working conditions and excessive overtimes. It sounds like, you would really be able to help or have some alternatives to this. Let's hear what you have.
Well, the staffing is getting abused in pretty much every way contractually by the company. And, we're not doing anything to, step up and make sure that our contract's not getting violated. The cover drivers, they're being utilized, out of
their context, out of their being used, out of their jurisdiction. Yeah.
And then, the contract says that, they're not supposed to supplement the workforce in replace of RPCDs or, full-time utility. Mm-hmm. And this has been going on for over a decade. Recently there's been new language put in the contract about cover drivers, and it's called the 156 punch rule. Wow. And it's where if a cover driver works 156 punches in a calendar year, then the company's supposed to automatically create a new full-time job, not specifically for that cover driver, but for anybody who's in seniority waiting to go to an RPCD position.
Right.
So,
and that would be beneficial, especially for individuals who actually want to go RCPD. Because I notice in my particular building, man, they're getting so used and abused because there's no rights. They keep them out there all night, man. It's just horrible.
Yeah, they like you said, they don't have the rights to file 9-5. Mm-hmm. It's cheaper labor. The company's got to be saving, millions of dollars over all these years. Mm-hmm. That are potential wages for our Teamsters.
That's insane.
There was actually a large group of us in San Marcos who, we all filed the grievance on the 156 punch rule in 2021, I believe it was. I don't know, but I've been filing on it pretty much every year. But we actually were able to win that grievance somewhat. Like getting them to process it again was like pulling teeth. And but we did get some full-time jobs, but now those have slowly deteriorated and they haven't been replacing them again, and they're just filling them with new cover drivers. So if we enforce that 156 punch rule, then cover drivers really should only be working during Christmas time and max vacations during summertime, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And here in San Diego, everywhere else they have the 2-tier pay scale. Not to say that other locals do not have things like cover drivers, but we actually have a 3-tier pay scale down here, so.
Oh, that's so awesome. Way to go. Way to go, Local 542. Man, because we have our RCPD pay, and we have our 224, and we have our covers, right? Exactly. Those are the three tiers. Mm-hmm. Actually, I guess technically 4 if you consider our part-timers on top of that. You know what I'm saying? Well, I guess a cover driver is like a mixture. It's like a hybrid between the two.
That kind of, leads me into the next part, which is really, but before we go to that, actually, I wanted to talk about, like some of the abuse of things that the company has done with the cover drivers as well, when they're trying to claim that the cover drivers are seasonal during October, and that all that time, that doesn't count towards their progression. I believe this is wrong. It's been filed on, and again, the local just fails to process.
Refuses the process, and these are easy slam dunks.
Yeah,
the 100-day punch is easy. This pausing someone's progression, man. I had someone who was going through progression, Russ, and right when I think November or December hit, he was getting ready to finish his progression. They paused it. Made him work all the way through November, December, 2 weeks into January, and then they said, "Oh, we're gonna we're going to finish your progression. And then they're like, oh, well, you didn't have this, you didn't have that, and they disqualified them. So it's kind of like they were like using them just for the peak season.
Exactly.
And then they ended up getting rid of them.
And also what I've seen too with a lot of guys who, they do that with the seasonal, and then if they disqualify them in whatever January or February, and a lot of guys are like, oh, well, that's what it is. No, you need to file agreements, because guess what? If you failed the first time on your progression, then you have the 6-month delay.
Yep.
And guess what? The company's just going to wait till October the next year.
Just to do it again. Because they know, they're like, oh, yeah, we'll get you next October. We'll pull you in. Matter of fact, we'll start right before and then bring you in.
And really, there was a section on that cover driver thing that kind of supports my argument, and we'll post a picture of that. And it's that, in that section where it says the cover drivers can be utilized as seasonal drivers, but it also says cover drivers and cover drivers in progression.
Yep.
So,
so if they've started
with cover drivers, and then they're going to add the ones in progression, they're seasonal by,
why?
And it just says that they're not supposed to gain full-time seniority, which we already know.
Yeah,
the cover
right
drivers
off the
don't.
bat, which is awkward.
But also another concession in this cover driver thing, that allowing them to keep cover drivers longer than they should, is that cover drivers are classified as part-time.
Right.
And then when you go part-time to full-time, your fringe benefits is what it says in the contract, which is, vacation. So whatever, you get your 1 week after 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, you get, so on, whatever, 10, and then 20 and 25, you get it every week.
Right.
For one of those achievements. But if you're classified as part-time, there's a sentence in a section of the contract, and it's kind of snuck in the back there in wages. We'll put a little link to some of the
we can put it up
so
on
we
the
can
screen.
You guys can cross-reference the articles and stuff so you can see that we're not talking gibberish over here.
Oh yeah, no, we don't.
And
do
then
that here.
but all your years only count as half when it goes towards fringe
Part-time.
benefits, which would be like your vacation. So if you work full-time as a cover driver for 10 years like some of these guys do, well, guess what? You're dropping all the way back down to 5 years when it comes to your vacations. So them allowing them to get away with this, that's a lot of money being lost. And I've seen a lot of drivers when I was a steward that when they did go from part-time to full-time, and the whole mess that they do where they switch your seniority dates and this and that, and they combine your dates, people have lost out on thousands of dollars. Like I've had members that have won $4,000 because they pay out their vacations. It really doesn't make any sense to me. I'd have to dig deeper into it, but we haven't really been allowed to dig that deep in our local.
No. When it comes to some of the big wins that this local has been talking about, I kind of jumped into this.
There's a lot more to go.
Oh, let's go. Well, what you got over there, man?
So also with the staffing, they allow the air drivers to perform groundwork, and really that language was brought in, from my understanding, just for air drivers to only drive air packages. And there is one exception, that the air drivers are supposed to be able to pick up ground packages, and that's if they are already scheduled to go to a spot where they're picking up air packages, and there's ground packages there where the ground driver has already picked up and gone on.
Right.
And then at that point, the company's supposed to pay the air driver top rate,
right,
which is good. And I know I might catch a lot of flack from some of the air drivers that have been enjoying this for a long time, but it's really deteriorating our contract and deteriorating our proper staffing, and giving the company an extra loophole that they can
use
to prevent hiring the people they need.
And basically, you're using, again, someone outside of their jurisdiction or what they were made for, and you're preventing someone else from getting fired in the same process.
Yeah.
So, I mean, getting hired. So we can bring in, maybe 5 drivers or RCPDs, but saying that we got these 4 or 5 air drivers doing this, we're not going to bring any more full-timers on.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's sad.
And I filed on this. I mean, I was repeatedly filing on this every 2 weeks. 1 year for, gosh, I don't even know, maybe even more than that. I kind of went on these little grievance campaigns, for trying to get this resolved. And there's a section in there in the Article 40 that says that any abuse of the language is supposed to be referred directly to the National Air Committee. And I've requested from our representatives to send it to the National Air Committee for abuse review. And every time it's just fallen on deaf ears.
Yeah. Like everything else.
Mm-hmm.
We filed nothing. And one of the strangest things, we had one of the business agents, Mr. Ron Catita, said he filed a at-all grievance for the ride-alongs that were going on. And nothing has happened. I received extra ride-alongs because they were telling everyone, "Oh, it's every 3 months. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of strange." Filed the grievance. Nothing.
From my understanding, it's only supposed to be the one annual safety ride.
Yeah.
And then if they want to, they can do a lock-in for 3 days.
Yeah, but now when I look in the contract, I can't even find the lock-in anymore.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I haven't been able to. It may be in there.
It's in there.
Yeah, I just haven't been able to.
there.
Because I asked them for it. I'm like, yo, give me a lock-in. I'd be more than glad to do a lock-in.
Yeah, exactly. They won't do it.
They won't do that.
They tried to do one on me, and then they abandoned it pretty much after the first day.
Oh, yeah. When they start looking at them numbers, they're like,
yeah. Well, when they find out you're doing all the little things that you're supposed to be doing, then they don't have much work.
They don't want to do it.
And
let's do it for 5 days.
Once you get that lower number in and you lock that in, they don't want to send your route out.
Oh, for a whole year, baby. For a whole year, Russ. Come on, let's go. 5 days. They were like, oh, no, we're going to go 3. No, we're going to go 5. We need to get that average, right? We need to get that average. What else you got over there?
Another thing, too, that really is affecting our staffing, and all these things could be improved, I feel like, right away. Once, we get the proper people in there, they're going to do their job and represent people properly and hold the company accountable to the contract, is the SurePost that's been going on for so many years. When SurePost first came in, there was a part where like the company had to contractually have the technology to make sure that they were complying with the size limits and the weight limits, and they have this technology now. And during Christmas, they just crank that knob up, and not only Christmas, they do it all year. And
whenever they don't want to do the work.
They
don't want to do the work. They're like, oh, we'll let UPS lift that heavy.
Well, no. The company wants all of those packages going to the post office, because then they're outsourcing the labor. That's gutting all of our trucks of the easy stops, the light packages, and giving it to the post office. And
that's horrible, man.
We want that. We want that work on our trucks.
We need that work.
Yeah, we need
it. We want Teamsters.
Again, this has all been filed on and never processed.
Way to go.
In order for me to make them process it, it's
Oh, you're a bad steward then.
Hey,
you're making me work, Russ.
For a lot of years it was like that, but now we can all air this
out. Yeah, we can be honest now. we ain't working on outside of the fence anymore, man. Yeah. So it's pretty sad to be able to see all this, where you can actually see a thriving, the ability to have a thriving community of drivers, everyone getting paid, everyone able to get off at a decent amount of time and enjoy their family, but they choose not to create that type of work environment, and it's kind of sad.
And just a couple other quick things that I feel, Soup's working. It takes it used to be double time. For every hour that a supervisor works. Now, if you get them on the third time working in a 9-month period, it goes to triple time.
Oh, it pays.
Now, I've been told by our reps that, these soups, this will never go away. They'll always be working. Well, guess what? If we had representation that was going to process these grievances in a timely manner and people saw that they weren't in fear of retaliation from the company,
getting protection,
and that their local was going to back them up and really, make sure that this kind of stuff didn't go on. Then I think it would turn into a feeding frenzy.
Oh yeah. Oh, it'll actually, I think it'll disappear real quick.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the 9.5, right? When we get violated like more than 3 times or whatever the case is, they're supposed to sit down and review and hey, what's going on? Why do we keep over dispatching this? Let's get it down to a reasonable number. And man, it never gets done, bro. It never gets done.
Another thing I've seen them do when it comes to their staffing issues is they abuse the training language like severely, and a lot of these new guys aren't given a fair shake at making the job, making the probation. Right. They'll it's supposed to be 5 training routes max, depending on how many drivers there are in the center. And it's we can post that up too when you guys can cross-reference all these articles and see what we're talking about after this. But I've seen the company push 10, 12 guys training at a time, not even on training routes. It's the training routes are supposed to be kind of agreed upon between the union and the company. So there's so much wiggle room for the company to not only like retaliate against union active members. They choose what training route they're going to go on. They know the numbers on what route pays and who they want to push through. Or, they have seen them where they've trained so many people and then they disqualify guys that should have easily been qualified, but they just don't want to hire the package car drivers.
Yeah, send it back.
So our locals let them get away with that many times, which has also been filed on heavily. Man, I remember a driver,
bussing tail, had a clean record, and I think like the last day, I'm not sure if he had a service failure. He had one thing, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna disqualify." I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, we're filing on that."
Yeah. When I first went driving, it didn't matter. If you were disqualified, that was an automatic grievance no matter what, if you failed your 30 days. And I don't know where we fell off from that. I think it's probably from the apathy we get from our leaders. And, lack of
work.
Yeah.
Lack of work.
Yeah, lack of that.
We're going to take all your money and we're going to work.
Belief in the process and that it would actually work. Some people just take things for face value instead of really digging into their contract, and making sure that
well, you got to also have the ability to argue. If you don't have the ability to argue and fight at a local level hearing or the panel hearing, you don't have that ability, you're just going to get your butt mopped. And I noticed that with my personal opinion, our local, it seems like they're unable to put together solid arguments. And even when you or I put together, like an ironclad case, and we hand it to them, it's like they don't know what to do. We get up to the panel. I don't know if this ever happened to you. I got up to the panel, and we had everything prepared, and he goes, yeah, Eric's going to talk.
Oh,
I'm like, what?
I realized the panel is that when you go in there, it's almost like your business agent is your steward.
Yeah, or worse.
And when you got a steward or a business agent that sits there and says nothing,
it's horrible.
Then,
as you're getting reamed across, and they're supposed to know the contract, and you're like, well, this is the section, this is the article, this is the section, and so they're like, hey, did you tell him this? They're like, what? Wait, hold on, man.
Well, one thing I noticed when I went through all this grievance procedures all the time is that the agents were actually just handing over all of my information to management.
To the management.
Exactly.
Yeah, so then they can argue.
Yeah. And then they would give them my whole game plan.
And we would never get theirs.
And then really, stewards are supposed to legally be able to request information and stuff like this. This doesn't get allowed in our local. Our local doesn't allow stewards to do the proper investigation. And if I would have been able to get that stuff, then I would have been able to have their game plan, and so I could combat it. But instead, they send you in there, leave you naive, and set you up, and then it's already
let them have all the ammo.
Yeah,
they already found what your argument is, and the craziest thing is, I think it's almost like a Freedom of Information Act for us in our contract. You can basically ask or request, hey, everything that they have, all the material and information that they have, notes and everything like that, so you can prepare. But man, our local does not do this at all. And then they'll hand over all your information to them.
Yeah, exactly. It was one time I went to panel and it was so bad. I had my statement and it was pretty much just plagiarized by a manager and rewritten to his way, where it was like it followed my exact statement like to a T, other than just like where he wanted to make it sound better in his favor.
Oh my gosh. Well, man, when it comes to local and this big win that we have, because we're coming up on time here, we're gonna touch on this. They said that they had this big win, and man, they're out there. Man, hey, on our dime, they should be representing us, fighting retaliation and harassment and everything like that. But with their time, they're out there saying, hey, we won this big win.
Huge win.
Huge win. And to me, it shows that they've never won anything in their life.
Yeah, the thing with that is I'm surprised they're even coming out and saying anything about it, because
3 years ago.
Let me just try to give a quick synopsis or whatever basic rundown of what this utility to bid ratio thing is. It's really something from all the way back in 97, where the company is obligated to make sure that they have RPCDs, which they're known as now, or utility drivers that don't have a bid route. So they make sure that the work's staying with the full-time drivers. Mm-hmm. And so a bid driver is somebody who is an RPCD who has their own route. So let's just say there's a center with 100 bid drivers.
Right.
Then at that point, the company should have, from my understanding, the ratio is 30% roughly. So they should have 30 utility drivers.
Right.
So the company was saying that these new 224 jobs were going to count towards the ratio, mm-hmm. when really it should have been RPCDs the whole time. Mm-hmm. So really this is a good thing that it's been hashed out. But the problem is it's taken 4 years. Our contract's about over. Mm-hmm. All in order for them to clean up this mess and really make every person who was affected whole and get paid what they were going to do. It's practically impossible, because they would have to go back clerically and make sure that there was somebody who wasn't, wanted to go RPCD, that didn't want to go 224. All those years, like I talked about with the fringe benefits, their vacations only counting towards half. Mm-hmm.
And we have some people now, like going around saying, "Oh, they're going to win $10,000."
Yeah, and
ridiculous.
They kind of, they say that all these bid routes, but in our building, there was one center where 27 routes were not bid for gosh. Like over a year. I filed a grievance on about 15 routes to get bid in our center. It took them over a year to process. So if this was such an important thing to them, why weren't they out there making sure that all these routes are being bid? And I know for a fact that every single one of those centers out there probably has routes that should be bid. And the bid language is, if the route is in for 3 days a week for a 30-day period, then that's supposed to be up for bid for somebody. And
they don't do it.
Yeah,
they don't do it at all. And not only that, Russ, when you looked at the language, they never requested for anything at the end of that. So
no, there's nothing been won. Yeah.
So it's like they had a potential to actually get something huge, but because they sat on it for so long, man, the company has now been able to re-gear and just take all those, make them 224s, and now you don't have any argument. So you didn't ask for anything, so you won what? You asked for nothing. You just said, hey, this is what's happening. And then at the end, the arbitrator's like slamming him. He's like, dude, well.
And, I'm saying now, if they want to go back and review.
Oh, dude, it'll be horrible.
About how many bid routes did we have in
at that time?
2021?
Bro.
Well, if it's only 25 short, if they're 25 short on bid routes, then guess what? What's 30% of 25? That's how many less RPCDs you should have had,
So what you going to do, send them back now? Yeah.
Well, no,
or boost them up.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen here? And
So-
then now, what about the pay too? Now that you think about it, they
Exactly.
should have been paid at
Exactly.
RCP, and then the progression should have been. Matter of fact, if I was in that situation, I'd be like, dude, I want my money.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, almost
such
3 years?
A dirty mess for them to say it's a win. That
Yeah,
ouch.
that's horrible, man. That's horrible. Well, Russ, man, you got any more for us? And we're gonna go about to wrap it up.
You know, I just wanted to say a little something.
Let's get our promotion in there. Come on, man. You can get our members from members
You know,
in there.
to go back to the kind of like the original question, I know it was a long time about things that we can improve. You know, really just removing that one sentence about the fringe benefits cutting in half, like that would be huge.
Right.
You know, that's an easy thing. You just cross out that. You know, obviously, we want to get rid of the 224s. One job, one pay. You know, there's not supposed to be any disparate
Two tiers.
treatment.
Yeah.
Or two,
And they're
in a
doing the
union
same
shop,
exact
you know.
job, man. They're in the same exact heat, delivering the same exact packages, and they're getting treated less than.
Exactly, with less rights.
Yeah, no rights. No rights, man.
You know, if we bring up the part-time pay, then we're going to be able to retain better employees at UPS, people that are actually going to care and want to stay. And, that'll reflect on better loads and, safer conditions for us, instead of people just being pissed off and just, not really caring, and
Yep, and quitting because our turnover rate is just freaking ridiculous.
yeah.
Yeah, it's freaking insane, man. It's a sad situation, that's for sure. So now, when it comes to members for members, let's get our promotion in there, man.
Yeah,
got
I
it.
mean, what I like to
Promote.
say about members for members is we're actually, the people who have lived through these contracts. We've worked through this, and that's the experience where it really counts because, all these guys in there that have never done the job, they don't know what it's like to be out there day in, day out, in the heat, in the rain, all night long, missing dinner, not seeing our families, and
Seeing other people's families.
Yeah,
Russ,
you know-
I remember delivering so late. You
Yeah.
can smell other people's food and dinner. Man, and I'm out there, bro. Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. We've done the job. We have the experience. Well, we'll be able to really fight for you in this situation when it comes to contracts. We've been there. Dude, we've been, abused and, man, dang near fired or fired and brought back. And we know the process. We've defended individuals, man. We've lived this. So we have the experience. Don't let these dudes tell you that we don't. And, man, we've been shop stewards for a while. Russ has been for, 5 years?
And in my short 5 years, I went through a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yes, you
Anybody who's been up in San Marcos knows that because they saw it,
And I think I was almost I want to say almost 14 years, man, as a shop steward.
Nice.
Again, ridiculous, man. So, yeah, man. Well, Russ, man, thank you for being with us, man. I greatly appreciate having you.
I just want to say one last thing.
Go ahead. You got
Is
it.
that if we really want to win and take on corporate America and, win better contracts, then it's all about us putting aside our differences, no matter what they are, and coming together for one purpose of just improving our working conditions.
Hey, that's what's up. Amen to that.
All right. Thanks for having me, brother.
Hey, thanks for coming out here. Greatly appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
We're going to send this bad boy out, even with some of the outtakes on there. So you guys get to see it raw, man. So you guys have